On ABC7's Good Morning El Paso weekend, the Pope's historic first visit to the United States wrapping up today. How he's spending his last day in Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. El Paso police looking into a possible homicide when in the investigation led them to suspect foul play. And a crash involving 3 vehicles closes off an intersection overnight, sending drivers to the hospital or worse. This is all the news you need to start your Sunday, September 27th. ABC7's Good Morning El Paso weekend starts right now.
Live, where news comes first. From the Mesilla Valley and Las Cruces to El Paso and the borderland. This is ABC7's Good Morning El Paso weekend.
Good morning, El Paso, and thank you for joining us. I'm Andrew J. Polk. It was a tough game, but the Miners pulled off an impressive comeback win with a 27-17 win over Incarnate Word last night. The Miners trailed 17-10 in the third quarter, but scored 17 unanswered points to take control and earn the W. UTEP will begin Conference USA play against UTSA next week at the Sun Bowl. We'll have much more from this game and all the other highlights coming up in sports. At least one person is dead this morning after a 3-vehicle crash. It happened around 2:30 this morning at the intersection of Treywood and Lee Trevino. Around-the-clock news crew was there as police tried to piece together what happened. This is what we know so far. There were 3 vehicles involved, including a pickup truck, a compact car, and a motorcycle. You can see the damage it caused here. The motorcyclist we were told, died at a local hospital. Officers are still trying to determine who was at fault. Drivers of the other 2 were also taken to area hospitals. The area was closed early this morning, but it has since been cleared and reopened. Police are investigating a possible homicide in the Lower Valley. Detectives with the Crimes Against Person Unit were called to 8200 block of Carpenter Drive. That's where police say a 38-year-old woman was found unresponsive in her apartment around 4 yesterday afternoon. Investigators say they don't know why the woman died, but they are treating the case as suspicious. Crimes Against Person and the medical examiner are investigating. They're considering this a possible homicide. El Paso's largest cycling event, the 35th Annual Chili Pepper Challenge Charity Bike Ride, began on Sunday. There will be rides of 10, 27, 40, 64, and 100 miles, and all rides begin and end at Grace Gardens. So what will be going on for that event? Let's get your first forecast with meteorologist Crystal Cly.
Yeah, hi, good morning, Andrew. You know what, we were supposed to be on the Chili Pepper Challenge this morning. I'm a little disappointed. Unfortunately, our car let up on us, so I'm going to still give the forecast for it. We're just doing it in-house. Let's start by looking at your current conditions outside. We're at 65 right now, that temperature in El Paso. Your wind's at 6 miles per hour. Look at that relative humidity. It's down to only 50%. To put in perspective, it's about 70-80%, even up to 90% when we were seeing that strong monsoon pattern. A little drier out there now. 63 your temperature in Las Cruces. Relative humidity is just 53% as well. Coming up in just a few minutes, we are back to the 90s this afternoon, so we are looking at some warm conditions later on today. Also still staying warm in our forecast through the 7-day forecast. Is there any rain or wind, though? We're going to check in on that coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, thanks, Chris. I'll check back with you in just a little bit. Well, after another full day of meetings and one last Mass, Pope Francis wraps up his first visit to the United States today. Polo Sandoval is in Philadelphia with a look at the beginning of the end for the pontiff in the States.
Thank you. Until tomorrow.
The pontiff took the stage at the Festival of Families last night. He spoke off the cuff in both English and Spanish, delivering one more message of faith.
Pero lo más lindo
But the most beautiful thing
que hizo Dios,
that God did,
dice la Biblia,
says the Bible,
fue la familia.
was the family.
Francis stayed on his week-long message of religious freedom and immigration.
Por favor.
Please don't ever be ashamed of your traditions.
No olviden
Do not forget the lessons you learned from your elders.
The Holy Father's agenda will also include a stop at a Philadelphia maximum security prison for a visit with inmates. The chair he'll use there was handcrafted by some of the prisoners, culminating the pontiff's week-long U.S. visit, a final Mass. It'll be a chance to experience Francis's energy in person one more time before he heads to Rome. Reporting in downtown Philadelphia, I'm Polo Sandoval.
Up to 1 million people are expected back later today as Pope Francis returns to the Festival of Families at Benjamin Franklin Parkway before returning to the Vatican. And remember, you can watch everything live streaming on KVIA.com for all the events happening for the rest of the Pope's visit. An American pastor imprisoned in Iran got to show support from hundreds of people in Idaho on Saturday. A large crowd demonstrated in front of the state capitol in Boise. The demonstration was part of a global prayer vigil for Boise pastor Saeed Abedini. He's locked up in Tehran for teaching Christianity, which is against the law in Iran. Abedini was sentenced to 8 years behind bars. Since then, his wife has worked continuously to get the U.S. government to put pressure on Tehran to free her husband. Saturday marked the 3rd year of Abedini's imprisonment. More than 200 people marched in the borderland with the Border Network of Human Rights downtown yesterday. They were speaking out against Governor Greg Abbott's plan to use the Texas Department of Public Safety for what some call a state-level border agency. Protesters say Abbott is using state troopers to enforce the border. Some say the use of state agencies to enforce federal laws has led to unfair treatment of Hispanics. They cited a Texas Tribune article which reported the ticketing of Hispanics in Texas has more than doubled over 6 years. A DPS spokesman told the Texas Tribune that the increase could be based on demographic changes, though the Tribune reported the Hispanic population in these areas affected has only increased 2%.
We fear that people's not going to come towards law enforcement to report a crime because they're going to feel like they're going to ask me for my documents.
Governor Abbott has said the reason he believes Texas should enforce immigration on its own is that he thinks the federal government is not doing everything necessary to keep the border safe. Well, what would you do if there was a disease outbreak, chemical spill, flood, severe winter storm, or other disaster? El Paso's Department of Public Health has made it their goal to keep the public informed and prepared. Yesterday, DPH and emergency responders hosted a preparedness expo at the convention center to inform the community about what to do in emergency situations.
Community Preparedness Expo, it helps to get people on the road to being prepared in the event of a disaster, or not even as far as a disaster. Now, the National Weather Service, our primary mission is safety of lives and property, fits right into that.
And Fawcett there said we will have an active winter with more snow than you might expect. A passenger of a small aircraft is missing after the plane crashed near an Indiana airport. The plane crashed early Saturday morning in a neighborhood and landed upside down in the backyard of a home with a small path of branches and debris leading to the plane. Police believe 2 people were on the plane. The pilot was located shortly after the crash and was taken to the hospital in good condition. But police and firefighters have not been able to locate the passenger. No one in the house or on the ground around the plane was hurt. The Federal Aviation Administration is also investigating. Federal investigators of a different kind are also taking a closer look at the front axle of a duck boat tour vehicle involved in a deadly crash in Seattle last week. 4 international college students were killed when the vehicle collided with a charter bus. Christian Drew has more on the investigation.
Photos posted on the National Transportation Safety Board's Twitter page show investigators examining a wheel of the Ride the Ducks boat. Their investigation today revealed there was damage to the left front axle.
Looking at the parts, it was sheared off in a torque, but beyond that, it's hard to say why that happened. You know, what was the mechanism that caused that to shear? And we don't have that kind of understanding at this point.
NTSB board member Earl Weiner says witness accounts are consistent with what they've found so far in the investigation. The duck boat fishtailed, then veered into the opposite lane, crashing into the bus.
We overcorrected and just shot across all 3 lanes at full speed, no brakes, no nothing, and hit the side of that bus.
Investigators are also focusing on interviews with passengers. They're trying to figure out where everyone was sitting when the crash happened. Some passengers were even ejected.
When I landed, I was looking right at it, and I'm going, there's no tire. There was red fluid and everything. I'm going, damn.
Those spatters of red fluid were around the wheel well. Investigators say the fluid probably came from the transmission, but they don't know yet for sure. At the maintenance facility tonight, some of the leadership team for Ride the Ducks was seen coming and going, but no one had any comment. This building is where the duck boats are stored. Investigators are now collecting information for the drivers of the bus and duck boat, including their medical histories and driving records. So far, they've not spoken with either driver.
It's way too early to say anything about a probable cause. We're just gathering evidence at this time, gathering factual data.
The duck boat tour operator has issued a statement saying, quote, Ride the Ducks of Seattle wishes to express its sincerest condolences to the family and friends of those who were killed and those that were injured. The controversial Kentucky County Clerk Kim Davis is now a Republican. She says she switched political parties last week along with the rest of her family. Davis, who was elected as a Democrat, has been widely supported by Christian conservatives for her staunch opposition to same-sex marriage. Republican presidential candidates Mike Huckabee and Ted Cruz both visited her while jailed for contempt of court after she refused to issue marriage licenses to same-sex couples. There was a big march through Hollywood yesterday to show support for police officers. The Los Angeles Police Protective League and law enforcement supporters wore shirts that read Blue Lives Matter. The pro-police gathering was a public show of support for LAPD officers and emphasized the importance of public safety. The group wants it known that men and women in uniform risk their lives every day for our communities.
No matter what the sentiment is, pro-police or anti-police, they're going to strap on those boots and secure that gun belt, and they're going to go out there and they're going to suppress crime, and they are going to treat the community with respect.
The Los Angeles Police Protective League represents nearly 10,000 sworn members of the LAPD. Several people were injured during an outdoor music festival in Arizona Saturday night. According to witnesses, chaos broke out when the crowd rushed the stage at the Summer Ends Music Festival in Tempe. It reportedly happened during a performance of the band Revolution. Witnesses say the crowd started pushing forward during the last song. Up to a dozen people may have been hurt. At least 7 people were taken to the hospital. The concert was temporarily stopped while the injured were treated. And a man is in custody this morning after a shooter kills a number of drivers. But coming up here on Good Morning El Paso Weekend, is he really the one responsible? Those details coming up. And it is 8:11 right now. We're going to take a live look at traffic this morning. We can pop that up. I-10 McRae moving just fine. We did have a traffic alert on I-10 and Hawkins, but as you can see here, moving just fine now, and no other major problems to report this morning. And a storm track weather, Crystal.
Well, we are in the 50s and 60s this morning, but by this afternoon, it's going to be hot. Well, we're going to take a look at how high your temperatures go for your Sunday afternoon. Plus, we're talking work week weather after your break.
You're watching ABC 7, where news comes first.
In Texas.